if you are here, if you clicked on this video, I am going to assume that you are probably a fan of the Raven Files series. I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I've been keeping a secret about this series for a few years now. Now, from the start, I don't want you to get too excited. There are no plans for more books to be published at this point in time. However, let's just say, should that opportunity arise, I will be very prepared for that moment. And in this video, I am going to tell you all about what that means. And if you stick around to the end, I have an extra special surprise for you. Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Meghan Rogers. I'm the author of the Raven Files series, and I am also a writing and tarot coach. And today's video is predominantly going to be focused on the Raven Files. This is a video I think is for Raven Files fans. If you are new to the channel though, you are welcome to stick around. First, before we get into the heart of this video, I need to thank the inspiration for this video, which is you, Raven Files readers. Thank you so much for reading, for reaching out to me. You know, I took a break from the internet for about 5 years, which wasn't really my plan. I just needed a break, and this is when it felt right to come back. But I honestly wasn't expecting so many of you to still be here and to still care. And it's been so cool to kind of go back through my Instagram and see your comments, and even to see you guys popping up over here and reaching out to me, telling me how much you still think about this series and would still read it if it were to come out again. It just means the world to me, and I can't begin to thank you enough. But like, this is my attempt to do just that. And as an extra special thank you, I have a treat for you at the end, so please stick with me. But there's some other stuff I want to talk about before we get to that. Now, first up is the secret that I've been keeping for a few years, and that's that I'm actually writing the third book. There are no plans to do anything with it at this point, but I am writing it, and I wasn't planning to share this with anybody publicly because I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up, and sometimes I think it can kind of be teasing, like, oh, this thing's over here and you don't get to read it. But one, you guys have really inspired me the way you still show up for this series, that I wanted to be honest with you about what I'm doing over here. And two, I started this channel because I wanted to talk about what I was working on when I was working on it, because that's when I'm the most excited about it. And right now, I'm working on this book, and I want to share it, and I want to tell you about it. So I hope you will indulge whatever I'm able to share at this point in time. So now I've actually been working on this book for about 4 years now. I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory just to kind of take you through it, because again, I am here to be transparent with you, and I do feel like, as those of you that are interested in watching this video, you deserve to get the full story. So first, you can thank my friend Maggie for the reason that this even exists right now, because while many people were disappointed in my circle that there weren't more books, most people I think were either disappointed for me personally, or if they were disappointed about the books, they weren't sharing that with me directly. But my friend Maggie was very vocal about her disappointment of not getting to read more of this story. So much so that I promised her, you know, I couldn't promise her a timeline, but I said I would write her the third book, or probably the fourth too. I would finish the series for her. And if you missed my previous video on the series, I will link it below, but I see this as a 4-book series. So to me, there are 2 more books in the series that I could write. So I did promise for her I would write these books for her, and I couldn't promise when they would show up, but she would get them either for Christmas or her birthday, whatever happened to be closer when I finished them. So I took some time away. I had other ideas that I wanted to be working on. I was still really focused on publishing and selling something at that point. So it was years before I revisited this series and actually got serious about doing something with it. Then in about 2021, I kind of felt this pull back to it. I hadn't revisited the series in a while. I did write a couple scenes, I think, prior to that, but it was just like in the middle of the book. It was just a little bit of inspiration. It wasn't anything serious. But in 2021, I started just to feel this pull back to this world. So I wrote the first chapter, and that tends to be where I start with any book, is I just write the first chapter. I don't always have an outline. Sometimes I will if it's like a second or third book in the series, but typically, I like to just write the first chapter. It gets me into the world, it gets me into the vibe, and then I can outline and plan from there. So I wrote the first chapter of the book, and I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed doing it, but I was still working on other things, and I wasn't able to give it my full-time commitment, but I did start to outline it. Usually I'll outline it on paper first, like I'll brainstorm just kind of like a free write of the book, and then I'll outline on paper, and then I'll write. But for this book, I felt like I wanted to just do this on the computer. You know, I write in Scrivener, and it has a note card feature where you can like plot out the book. So that's what I used for this, which is really different than I usually do. And it wasn't anything like I was dedicated to sitting down, like I'm going to work on this book. It was just, oh, I've got ideas for what comes next. And I'd write that out. And then, oh, I have more ideas for what comes next. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't like what I had earlier. Let me go in and change that. And like, that's kind of how I outlined it, which I've never outlined that way. And at this point, I'm actually kind of moving away from outlining a whole book at a time. I tend to be more like outline a chapter, write a chapter. But for this book and for this series, mapping it out like that just feels right. So I'm going with that. And then I just let it sit. And I didn't really feel called to come back. I didn't feel called to write any more of it. And then last year, I did feel the pull again. And I went back into it, and I felt like I wanted to write something. I was in a revision place with another project, and I didn't feel like revising. My brain was kind of fried, and revision just takes more brain power than writing a draft. So I felt like I wanted to write, and I didn't feel like brainstorming because that also takes brain power. Like I just wanted just to dive in and write something. And then I remembered I had started outlining this book. Well, I open up the outline, and I realized, no, I've actually outlined the entire thing. And I'm looking over the notes on the project, and I'm like, I have like the entire book, and it's like, it's a solid outline. It's probably the most solid outline I've ever made of an entire book. There's like the climax is a little bit like loose, and that'll need to be a little bit more specific when I get there. But overall, the entire book is like totally planned. And I did not realize I did that. So that was like a delightful surprise when I saw that. So I was really shocked to have that revelation, but I was also really excited. So I wrote a few more chapters, and then I kind of just stopped writing anything because I was realizing I was actually really burnt out, and I actually didn't have the brain capacity to revise or write at that time. And I just set it aside, but I was really excited to know, like, okay, I've got this here when I'm ready to dive back in. And it was my plan to keep this whole project a secret, but then I told Maggie about it earlier this year. And now I'm telling you about it because you guys have actually really inspired me to pick this back up again and actually be more seriously committed to it. I decided originally I was going to try to kind of nano this book because Nano 2.0 is back, which if you don't know what Nano is, it's National Novel Writing Month. And it's the idea of showing up and writing a draft in a month and just like committing to getting that done. I experimented with that, but I really am not a bulk drafter anymore. I used to be where I could just like turn out words like that. That's not feeling good to me anymore. So it might be 2 or 3 months that I write this book, but I do think this is going to be what I'm working on right now. Should I feel pulled to something else, I may decide to go to that. But for the time being, this is just what I want to be writing. And I'm really excited about it because honestly, you guys have kind of woken up the inspiration for it again for me to come to really understand just the fact that there are people out there who would be interested in reading this should I finish it has been really motivating me to get it done and to come back to this world. So thank you again for being here and for showing up. But now to answer probably your big question at this point is what's going to happen to this book when I finish it? Now, some of you have very kindly left comments that you would be willing to read a self-published version of this, which I can't begin to tell you how much I love that and how much that means to me. I don't think that's the direction I want to go in now because self-publishing really is a lot of work and I don't have the time or energy to do that at this point in time. However, should we get to a point that it really does not come out traditionally, I probably will at some point down the line self-publish this series or the rest of the series. So that is a future potential plan. But what I would really love to happen is there's a couple of avenues this could go. One, I am ready to be online again. I have a lot of different branches that I am now available for that aren't just writing books. But I am looking to promote what I have. So I am going to be talking more about this book series to people who may not have read it before. I also know a lot more about promoting myself. So I do think there is a possibility that this could get out there. The e-copies are still available. And I truly believe if the money is there, more books will be ordered. So if you know someone you think would like this book, encourage them to buy the e-copies. That I think is probably one of the most immediate ways we could get more. However, I am also writing other books, and the book I'm working on right now, oh my gosh, I love it so much. And I think if you love the Raven Files, you will love this book. It's an adult fantasy, so I think it's kind of cool that if you were a young adult reader of mine, like actually young adult age, that we can kind of grow together here, and maybe you would be more interested in the adult book that I'm working on now. I will link information to that below because I have talked about that on this channel. But I am kind of hoping that when I release something else, I will have gained more traction online and I will be in a new market, and that book might do well and people might be more interested in what else I've made. And then they'll go back to the Raven Files, and that can also have a second opportunity to grow. So that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen. But just know that should those things happen, there will be a working draft of this book. We won't have to start from scratch, and which means that you will be able to get it sooner than you would if I were just sitting here writing other things and not thinking about this series at all. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you. And I know I've said thank you a few times in this video already, but I want to actually give you something. So to that end, if you would like to read a draft of the first chapter of book 3, you can do that by signing up for my newsletter. The link is in the description box below. It's also linked on my website, and you will have access to a draft of the first chapter of book 3. I think this will be the first chapter. I mean, I'm saying draft because anything can change. But I do feel like this would be the first chapter of the book. It feels right to me. It felt right to me to write. And I have a difficult time seeing this being changed in the future, though anything is possible. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I'm also going to periodically send out samples of other projects that I'm working on, so you kind of get a taste of those too. I am thinking about the next one will be the first chapter of the adult fantasy book I'm working on, so you can see if that's something that you might want to read more about. So that's my big gift to you, my big thank you. I really can't begin to tell you how much it means to me that you are here. There's also more opportunities to work with me in the description box below if that's something you'd want to do. I became a transformational tarot coach in the time that I've been away. Tarot has really changed my world. It's not all about predictions. You can use it that way, but it's more about connecting with yourself and getting more like intuitive guidance. If that's something that you would be curious about or interested in, I do have tarot readings for writers that are linked on my website, but I also have a separate tarot website for readings of all kinds. All that's linked in the description box below. But I'm so grateful that you're here. I hope you enjoy the first chapter. I think that's all for today. Again, thank you so much for being here. If you want to know more about what happened to the series, if you're coming across this video and you hadn't seen what actually happened to the Raven Files series, you can watch this video next.